Hello, friends. It's the end of the month podcast, which I'm kind of changing up a little bit. I'm going from my top 5 and 5 to my embrace the hell yeah conversation. I thought kind of starting off the newer year, I would try something a little different, which still will be not as long as my other ones, but kind of reflecting on my themes for this year, which is embrace the hell yeah and less stuff, more life. That's kind of what I want to bring to my monthly podcast. So thank goodness it's January, which I'm sitting in my living room and we have just had tons of snow lately, which is frustrating and depressing. I kind of get the blues this time of year. So thank goodness I've had some great podcasts this month because I need that inspiration to kind of keep me going and to keep me excited about what 2019 holds. I think this month has been great for podcasts because I've had a great variety. Having Stephanie with the Sarcastic Nutritionist was awesome because I think what they are doing is so great to inspire other dietitians, but also to make us laugh and to make other people in our communities not take us so seriously. So I get a kick out of everything that they do on their social media as well as all their products. I didn't get to meet Josh virtually on the podcast, but I very much enjoy his posts that he creates and all the material that he creates for the business. I also had a great podcast with my friends, Nicole and Dave. I hope to keep continuing this cocktails and conversation with them. We're going to try something a little bit different next time and keep building upon this type of podcast. I think it's interesting to talk about some relevant and trendy topics that are currently happening in our dietitian worlds to kind of see what other dietitians feel and think about these topics. And Dave just adds a great layer because he's not a dietitian, but he does add a great layer of insight, being a non-dietitian, but a person who loves food. So keep looking forward to those interesting conversations that I'll do about once a quarter. I also had a retail dietitian, which is so fun to have other retail dietitians on the podcast. Julia Hios, if you didn't catch her podcast, she is a retail dietitian in Canada. So it's interesting to see how dietetics is just a little bit different in another country, but also to hear about the same passions that dietitians have that are in the retail setting. I still feel like this is such a great place for dietitians. I'm so lucky to be part of this place, and I think it just will continue to grow. So Julia really inspired me to keep going as a retail dietitian because sometimes it can be hard, but it also is very worth it at the end of the day. And then the last podcast of the month was Jason, who I just love talking to males in our profession. I think we are a very female-dominated profession, and it's very good to have that male insight and also that male perspective on what it's like to be a dietitian. And we talk a lot about that in the podcast. So I have to thank Jason for just being that open and genuine about what it's like to be a guy dietitian in this world of female dietetics. So as we get into the month of January, I think we probably have all done a lot of things when it comes to starting off the new year and trying to create that new atmosphere of all the things that we're going to accomplish this new year. And I know that you probably have been watching or hearing about the Marie Kondo, the minimalizing method, the book that was inspired by her and all the things that she does, called Tidying Up. And there's been a lot of talk about it in social media. I think it's interesting because a few years ago is when I kind of got interested in it. And I know that another dietitian, Erin, the minimalist RD, also has inspired me to kind of start accepting and influencing that part of my life. And when it comes to tidying up, there is so many things that are tangible, so items, things that are in your home, but there's also things that are in your head. And I think when I first started kind of embracing this notion of decluttering, I started with all the things that were happening in my mind. And so I'm going to take you back to probably about 3 or 4 years ago when I really realized that there was just so much that was taking up space in my brain. And I had to deal with that first before I ever could deal with all the other things in my life. If you've got things that are taking up space in your brain, maybe it's hard feelings from the past, relationships, disagreements, hangups you have at work, hangups you have about who you are, feeling inadequate, being overconsumed with social media, spending too much time watching TV or being on social media. There's a reason why we do all these things, and it's usually because of this underlying factor that we're not dealing with in our lives. And so when I realized that I wasn't dealing with some things in my own personal life, until I dealt with those things, I couldn't get my shit together. I couldn't get my life organized. I couldn't get my brain organized. I was spending money on things I didn't need. I was buying things I didn't need. I was accumulating a lot of things because I wasn't dealing with the root problem. And so before you start throwing away a whole bunch of things in your house, or before you start decluttering all the space in your house or in your car or in your office, what's going on that you need to declutter in your brain, in your heart, in your being? You have to deal with those things first, or nothing else will continue to work or fall into place. And so that's what my first step is. You can do all the things that maybe a Netflix show tells you about, or you can do all the things a book tells you about. But to really start to minimalize your life, you have to minimalize the things that cause you pain or cause you heartache or cause you not to focus on what you want and what you need in your life. And so that's what I did. I started going through all the hard stuff. I started telling myself, figuring out why I was not dealing with things in my life. And that's hard work. That's not an easy thing. It took me a good year to really deal with the shit and to really get down and dirty, to see why I couldn't keep moving forward and I couldn't keep an uncluttered life or an uncluttered brain. So this week, I really want you to think about what kind of things are holding you back for having the life that you want to live. Do you have some personal things that you need to work through? Do you have some issues that constantly are reoccurring themes in your life that cause you to be irritated or to cause you to be upset? Those are the things that you need to recognize. Maybe write them down. Maybe try to start seeing if there's constant themes that keep popping up that cause you just pain or just cause you to think in a different way. That's where you need to start. And so throughout this next adventure of my Embrace the Hell Yeah conversations, these are going to be kind of my own personal tips, but also hopefully things that help you find inspiration and help you find ways that you can continue to embrace the hell yeah. I hope you have a great week, and I will touch base with you again in the month of February.